games, not going 2 for 1. Slow cashier workers. When my team gives up a 2 after we say no 2s. Notre Dame. These are the things that I hate the most. So when you beat Notre Dame on prime time in opening night off a last-second field goal from a guy from Boca Raton who was like 40% in his career prior to tonight, and then the game ends off a Ruben Bain turnover chain, game-sealing sack, we gotta get lit. Ugly but I ball like a Tony Snell. I can make money from the comfort of my sofa. Turnover chain, turnover chain, turnover chain. I miss Trajan Bandit. See me, homie, get a pick off. He get a turnover chain, torn umbrella when I walk in the rain in the kitchen whipping chicken cow bread like cakes. They say it's Catholics versus convicts, but it's really winners versus losers. And you are the losers once again, Notre Dame. What a night, man. Listen, I kind of wrote most of that intro like halfway through the game when the Canes were up 21-7. So if they would have blew the lead, you could have blamed me. Although I would have been sitting here blaming Mario Cristobal, because as excited as I am after the win tonight and kind of hopeful about this team for the rest of the season, I still don't like Mario Cristobal, and I strongly disagreed with a lot of the things that he did tonight. But I digress. Maybe we won't have plenty of games to talk about Cristobal if they keep winning. But tonight was certainly a very, very exciting night. But now let's go through my notes on the game a little bit, where on the very first possession of the game is where I already started to get frustrated with Cristobal, because first couple of plays, Canes missed a few tackles, which was annoying because tackling was our biggest problem last year. But eventually the Canes did get a stop on 3rd and 9. Notre Dame was going to punt, and Mario Cristobal calls timeout. Why are you calling timeout? It's 4th and 9. Notre Dame was not going to go for it. So you calling a timeout to get your team ready to punt? I just think that's bad coaching. But the Canes did get the stop. They would actually force a turnover, I think, the next possession, which I really wasn't even sure if it was a turnover. They punched the ball loose out of the Notre Dame receiver or runner or quarterback. I forget, but I wasn't sure if the Notre Dame guy was down before he lost possession of the ball. They reviewed it for like 5 seconds, which surprised me. But then they did eventually give the Hurricanes the ball, which is about the last time this game where the officials gave Miami benefits of the doubt. But anyways, going into the second quarter, you had Fletcher absolutely pounding the ball. That boy was out there pounding all night like he was Johnny Sins. Shout out to Mark Fletcher, man. I thought he had a really great night tonight. Looking at the box score, 15 carries, 66 yards. He really was a workhorse out there for them. And nice to see him continue to do great things. But yeah, he was pounding the ball, had a great 4th and 1 conversion. And then you had Carson Beck with a dot to Malachi Toney to make it 7-0 and get the Canes on the board. I'm not a guy who really keeps up too much with the recruiting classes and all that stuff. Obviously, I'm a big Canes fan. I watch all the games, but I really start learning about these guys once the season actually starts. So Malachi Toney is not a guy that I was familiar with. Apparently, he's 17 years old, which is, 10 years younger than me. That's crazy. But that boy is an absolute hooper. Really did some great things out there in the first quarter, specifically today, really first half. But he turns 18 next month, which is insane. So hopefully he can continue to do great things. And then the Canes was a 3rd and 16. They ran a screen play. Just another thing, maybe I'm nitpicking with Cristobal here, but I hate when teams run a little screen play or a handoff on 3rd and 16. Throw the ball. What do you got to lose? If you throw the ball downfield and it gets picked off, well then okay, you threw it all the way downfield. It was like it was a good punt. It was like an arm punt. There's no point in running the ball or doing a little screen play on 3rd and 16. I just thought that was very conservative, soft coaching from Mario Cristobal. I want to use a different word than soft, which starts with a P, but I'm not going to say it today because I'm not really that mad because the Canes won. But yeah, I thought it was the start of a soft coaching game plan from Cristobal. I just wanted to make notes of that. But eventually, Notre Dame would tie it up 7-7. On that play, actually, where Notre Dame threw the touchdown, the Canes got really great pressure. They had Carr running back for like 8 seconds. And then it's like while the front line for the Canes was putting pressure on the Notre Dame quarterback, the secondary was just sightseeing. That's what I call it when guys are just standing out there. Like, I've been playing a little bit of pickleball too, in addition to, playing basketball every day. And whenever my partner is just sitting there watching the ball go past, I say you're sightseeing. That's what the Canes secondary was doing on that play.
Great pressure up front from the Canes, but then the secondary just let the Notre Dame receiver catch it wide open. That was annoying. It would be 7-7 in the second quarter. But then to end the half, the Hurricanes would get a touchdown to go up 14-7 off a ridiculous one-handed Brent Grimes-esque little throwback for y'all that remember the Brent Grimes pick. But a nasty one-handed early catch of the year candidate from C.J. Daniels, the fifth-year senior, had a nasty one-handed pass or catch off a pretty wild throw from Carson Beck. We'll get into Beck a little bit later, but I thought he was good today. Thought he was fine at least. But yeah, Canes will go up 14-7. You had Michael Irvin on the sideline going crazy, hyping up C.J. Daniels. Watching Michael Irvin on the sidelines has been one of my favorite things. Just watching Hurricanes games for the last, decade plus, seeing Irvin on the sideline. Nobody can get me hype about anything, like Michael Irvin can. Awesome to still see him as engaged as ever with the roster. But then you got in the third quarter here, Marty Brown for the Hurricanes had a nice pile push touchdown to cap off an 8-minute drive. Canes were really running the clock. They would go up 21-7. Everything was looking great. After they scored, they would actually force a 3-and-out. So I'm thinking, okay, Canes got a chance to continue the momentum and add on to that ass whooping, just like we did back in 2017 with Trajan Bandy, the pick six. The Canes won like 41-7, whatever it was. The whole thing back with Malik Rozier and those boys. But no, the Canes would get the ball back. It was like 3-1, and they couldn't convert. So I'm thinking, if you get that first down for the Hurricanes, you go on another drive. Maybe you go up 4 possessions now, or I guess 3 possessions there. And you could have really sort of put the nail in the coffin early for Notre Dame. But instead, the Canes can't convert the 3-1. They would go 3-and-out themselves, and then Notre Dame would score, putting them down only 14-21 entering the fourth quarter. So one possession game entering the fourth quarter. A lot of questionable officiating at this point. Notre Dame defenders had their hands all over the Miami guys. We couldn't get a DPI to save our life. Even later in the game, the quarterback from Notre Dame, had a very obvious intentional grounding. And the refs had to huddle to discuss whether it was intentional grounding. What the hell is there to discuss? Throw the damn flag. There was no receiver in the area. He was still inside the pocket. And the ball didn't get past the line of scrimmage, most importantly. But anyways, the Canes, they have a huge third down when they have the ball, but then they would get sacked on a 3-man rush. So a little bit annoying at this point. It was another 3-and-out for the Canes. They had, I think, 4 straights, at one point in the second half, 4 straight 3-and-outs. And it was just frustrating because it's like, okay, it's the fourth quarter now. It's winning time. This is when we see the best players play. Nobody on the Canes was making a play. Again, 3-man rush from Notre Dame. You can't give up a sack there. But unfortunately, that's what happened. But then, when all the momentum was pushing Notre Dame's side, Ruben Bain, the turnover chain man, got a huge pick and incredible return for him also off a textbook tip drill. Few deflections there. Ruben Bain came down with the interception. Just a monster momentum changer. And then the Canes settled for a field goal. Very conservative play call after the pick from Cristobal. 3 soft runs just to settle for the field goal, which, to Carter Davis' credit, he would hit. And then that would put the Canes up. Where's that at? That would put the Canes up 7 with 5 minutes to go. Following offensive possession, the Canes would go 3-and-out yet again. And now that was 4 straight possessions without a first down. And in between, Notre Dame matched with a field goal of their own. So we're still looking at a 7-point game pretty late in the fourth quarter. It's going to be Notre Dame's ball again after the Canes 3-and-out. And on the first play, busted coverage for the Hurricanes. They give up a 65-yard wide open reception to the Notre Dame receiver. And then CJ Carr would cap off that drive with an easy design run to tie the game with 3 minutes to go. So going into that drive, when Notre Dame had the ball late with a chance to tie, they said this is where the lack of experience for CJ Carr might show. He, is his first real start as a starter for Notre Dame. And what do the Canes do? You would hope that they could make it difficult for the man. But no, they give up a wide open 65-yard catch and then lets CJ Carr basically walk into the end zone. So that part was very disappointing to me from a Canes perspective. And then when the Canes finally got the ball back, trying to move the ball a little bit, go down the field, Carson Beck threw what would have been a bomb to the Canes receiver to take the lead. Essentially would have been like another 60-yard touchdown pass. But instead of it being a touchdown pass, they called DPI finally on Notre Dame. The Notre Dame defender tripped up the Hurricanes receiver, which it's like, okay, they finally called a foul on Notre Dame, but it's actually one that hurt Miami, because if that guy doesn't trip up the Hurricanes receiver, he likely runs under the ball, and it's a long touchdown bomb for the Hurricanes to take the lead. So it was annoying that even when Notre Dame was getting flags thrown on them, it was still benefiting them, which was really annoying. Anyways, it would come to the 2-minute timeout. It was 3rd and 2 for the Hurricanes. They run the ball up the middle. They get stopped short initially, and I was shook. I'm like, oh my God, they about to give the damn ball back to Notre Dame in a tie game. But instead of them being stopped short, there was a great pile push to push, I think it might have been Fletcher, maybe it was Brown, push him over the line. So they got a huge first down with under 2 minutes to go. And the Canes were nearing field goal range. And then Mario Cristobal, instead of going for a touchdown to really put the dagger in Notre Dame, because they're using up all their timeouts, he once again settles for 3 soft-ass runs. And he puts the game in the hands of a kicker nobody's ever heard of. 47-yard field goal. I won't lie to you, I had no faith, but Carter Davis nails it. I'm not even sure that's his name. I'm trying to look here to make sure I'm not getting it wrong, because he does deserve his respect. Yeah, Carter Davis nails a 47 game-winning field goal to put the Canes up 3. It was still about a minute to go, I guess, but it would go on to be the game-winning field goal. But I don't know, it worked out. You know, Mario Cristobal got bailed out by this white boy kicker, but I still don't think it was the right move to be conservative there. You weren't favored to win this game. You playing the 10th seed Notre Dame. That's a monster game. You made them use all their timeouts, get the first down. That's game over. Mario Cristobal decides to play conservative, and fortunately, it didn't bite them in the butt today. But shout out to Carter Davis, who was literally 4 of 11 in his career from field goal range in his 3 years at FAU. So shout out to the kid for having the balls tonight. But Notre Dame would get the ball back with no timeouts, and Canes played great defense at last possession, had great pressure on Carr, forced another intentional grounding on him, and then you had Ruben Bain with the sack to end the game, did the Philly cheese, arms crossed. And I was a little worried, because I thought after the sack, Notre Dame still could have got one more playoff, and Bain sitting there like this. I'm like, get back over the line of scrimmage. They about to snap the ball. But they never had a chance to set the ball. That would be game over. And then that's when the party started. So that all begs the question, is the University of Miami back? No, I will never be fooled into saying those words until they win a national championship, because I've said it many times in my life. With Ja'Cory Harris, the Malik Rozier team, and the Manny Diaz and the turnover chain. We said it last year with Cam Ward. You literally had the quarterback who went first overall in the NFL draft, and you still didn't make the playoffs. So if the U wasn't back last year, they're probably not back this year. But they're a good team. You know, if they can continue to stack on these wins, then we'll see what they can do. I'm just not ready to answer that question after game 1. I'll leave it at that. I will say, though, that FanDuel, the sponsor of today's video, actually has the Hurricanes at tied for 10th. Or no, 10th. 10th in odds to win the national championship at plus 2,700. That's actually 3 spots behind Notre Dame, who they have at plus 1,300. So certainly these odds will change after this game. I'm very curious to see what they shift to. Maybe we'll discuss that in a future video. But yeah, FanDuel giving Miami some respect. Have them as 10th best odds to win the championship, which of course was our national ranking as well. And kind of put a bow on everything. I agree with what Barry Jackson tweeted out. He said, this is the blueprint unfolding before our eyes. Powerful offensive line that can stand toe-to-toe with any team, with a bunch of top 7 recruits, a team that doesn't lose a beat going 3 deep at running back, a quarterback who can make all the throws, playmakers at wide receiver and tight end. Yes, all these things are very true. However, all those things probably could have been said last year as well, except the defense was a sieve. Today, I wouldn't say the defense was a sieve. I would say they were fine. You know, struggled a little bit in the second half, but they still made some big plays on the last possession. So it remains to be seen what this defense can do. If they can continue to be average to above average, I do think maybe you have enough on the offensive side, along with a 23-year-old Carson Beck, to maybe make some noise in the playoffs. Because Carson Beck today, his much anticipated debut, he finished very efficient, 20 of 30, 205 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no picks. I was a guy who wasn't necessarily a believer of him coming into Miami, but through one game, I'm happy. I'm satisfied. FanDuel is actually showing him a lot of respect as well. They have him tied for third to win Heisman at plus 1,200. So not a bad play right there. But that's really all I got to say for this video. It was nice to finally get back in the room, get a post-game video out to you guys. There's a lot of Heat content I've been wanting to make, but like I mentioned in the last video, I've been very busy. I've been studying for my PE exam to become a licensed engineer. I take that test in 3 months. So as I said in that video, bear with me through the next 3 months while I get my studies done. But this was a fun one. Of course, we got a lot more coming up with the Dolphins starting next week. Plenty of football coverage through the rest of this Heat off season, and we'll sprinkle in some Heat if we get some news and I get some ideas and such throughout the rest of the offseason. But that's all I got to say for this video. Make sure y'all like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace out, everybody.
Look, pull up in your city tryna get that dead face. Do it on my own, I don't need no dead weight. Had to kill him off, yeah, I need a head space. You know this homegrown bitch don't offend me.